You're watching TelecomTV from SDN NFV World Congress in The Hague. And joining me now is Pieter Veenstra, who is Senior Manager Product Development for Security Solutions at NetNumber. And Pieter, you're also the Working Group Chair Fraud and Security Group at the GSMA. And also Sue Rudd, Director of Service Provider Analysis at Strategy Analytics. Good to see you again, both of you.
Thank you.
We're obviously going to be looking at security and network security. Can we start by looking at what the main issues are that are affecting the industry with regards to network security at the moment, Pieter?
Yes, the security of telecom networks is in danger, and operators are cautious about that because the fraudsters having more comprehensive means nowadays to embrace on the networks. So operators are needing signaling firewalls to protect their networks, especially on the international roaming services, because their sensitive information is being exchanged between the whereabouts of customers and privacy-related information. And that information can be of value for hackers. And the type of attacks is that they are, for instance, after money of customers. So they are attracting via the mobile network in exchange of information, identities, and by that they use that information either to trace the customer or attract information from the messages exchange with the customer, and then use that information in, for instance, banking fraud incidents.
Yeah, what's the effect of virtualization and network transformation? Because obviously we're here at SDN NFV World Congress. How is that impacting security?
The attack surface is becoming more distributed. And you don't know anymore as an operator in theory where your logic is being executed. So also 5G comes with other parameters like low latency, and that has all kinds of impact. So the security solutions that operators need to have in that environment is more distributed. It is high performance, but it also needs to be more enhanced than what they have today.
And Sue, Strategy Analytics has published a new report on signaling firewall solutions. What was the purpose of writing that report?
Well, we were really trying to look at the different ways that different vendors offer security for the signaling network, which can really be viewed as a network in its own right. And we need to do all the things we do to preempt attacks on the network, to prevent people pretending to be part of the signaling network, for untrusted carrier operators. But we also need to do it at a speed that's really real time, and because we're talking about preempting a session in the call flow. Some of the vendors do it in a message-based architecture, some of them do it at the router, or like NetNumber, they do it in the signaling flow. So they can actually insert and preempt an attack at the entry to the network. And we put together a set of dimensions which are in the report that may be useful to operators looking at any kind of security, but especially at signaling security.
Pieter, why did NetNumber sponsor the report?
Well, the main reason was that we faced in customer engagements that operators have difficulties to evaluate the characteristics of signaling firewall vendor products. So, we have asked Strategic Analytics to make an assessment among products, including ours, in order to make that more visible what the differentiators are, because that is not that easy to understand. And there are criteria that also have not the awareness among customers that these are the important drivers today, but especially in the future.
And Sue, what did the report show? What were some of the observations, and what were some of the sort of the high-level recommendations that come out of it?
Well, we looked at three vendors. You could also add others, but we looked at how you do it as NetNumber does in the signaling real-time plane. We looked at how some of the message-based SMS controller type solutions, and then we looked at some that depend more on the diameter router and looking at it after the first access to the network. So really some of the differences are whether you preempt the attack before there is any communications inside the network, whether you do it fast enough, and whether you're contending with other traffic on the network, such as message traffic or other router traffic. So there may be some real issues in terms of making sure it doesn't interfere with live service, but at the same time providing a preemptive prevention of attack.
How fast is fast? Can we get to real time?
Absolutely, this is all real time. This is in the milliseconds or even less. And the issue going forward is going to be doing it on a distributed basis, as we have to protect attacks at the edge. Pieter mentioned the increasing attack surface. Edge compute will very much increase the attack surface at the edge. So much of this has to be done, again, before anyone actually enters the network.
So also in the legacy networks, this distribution problem already happens, because the hackers are learning that networks have multiple entry points and that they can distribute the attack vector then over the multiple entry points. And that means that the infrastructure of your signaling firewall needs to act as one consolidated firewall. And that has implications, because when signaling traffic is arriving on one point, all the other points need to be updated at once about that occurrence. And that has technical implications.
A final question for both of you. Against this backdrop, what development should we expect to see in network security in the months and years ahead? Sue, why don't you start off?
Well, 5G has a whole new security specification that will work internally within 5G and eventually having end-to-end encryption. So there will be some much higher levels of security built into 5G. And Pieter, I know you are working on some of those and how they will work with the old systems.
We as NetNumber are very committed to the work in the GSMA. And looking in 5G, it is a complete different technology. It is about security by design, so that is very different from what we are used to, because in number 7 and diameter there was no security being thought about. So from the beginning, security by design principles will be there. And it is definitely being needed, because 5G is about layering different technology on each other. And that means that you cannot trust the security in that stack. And this implies that at the application level you have to ensure end-to-end security. That means, as Sue was already mentioning, about encrypting. And if that is being executed, then if information is being leaked at a lower technology layer, that information has no value, because it is about encrypted information. And that is about 5G, but it has also a recursive impact on how the 4G core networks are interacting to each other in diameter, because you cannot leave it unsecured as it is today. Well, it is of course secured with signaling firewalls and a protected environment, but it is not that secure as it should be in 5G for GDPR compliance reasons and so. So we are also, as NetNumber, leading activity in the GSMA to make diameter more secure by adding a signature to the signaling messages by which the recipient operator can verify if a message has been modified in between, and ultimately that some part of the message, which is sensitive content, is becoming encrypted. And by that, also diameter can work as an intermediate layer for the 5G networks, because the 5G networks will definitely not being interconnected at day one via the 5G means. They will interact via the 4G core networks, and at the radio interface it will be a 5G network, but in the in the core of the network it will drive on the 4G networks. But it requires that the security demands of 5G are also being met in the existing environment.
Pieter and Sue, thank you both very much indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you.